Are you sick of your friends coming over and trying a board game with you and just being like, I don't think this hobby's for me?
You want them to come back and you want them to play again and again and again and want to try all of the wonderful things taking up all your shelf space.
After much deliberation, these are our top 5 modern recent gateway games to get your friends into the hobby and playing with you and at your game nights.
Stick around.
The first game on our list is Harmonies. So Harmonies is a 1 to 4 player landscape creation game where you're drafting tiles with various landscape types like rivers, mountains, plains, dirt, and combining that with different animals that require different patterns of landscapes.
Okay, so let's look at how a turn is played in Harmonies. First off, you're going to look at your open market here that has different sets of tiles. Each tile represents a different terrain type. You're going to choose one of those sets and then you're going to place them on your own individual player board. When you're placing them, you want to consider how the terrain types function. After you have chosen your set of tiles, you're going to place them on your player board. And you want to place them so you're going to maximize your points. Rivers, for example, want to be long and meandering. Trees want to grow tall. Mountain ranges want to be in ranges surrounded by other mountains and as high as possible. And plains want to be big and sprawling across your board. Cities, for example, need to be surrounded by other terrain types or by other cities, but they have to be placed on solid structures like stone or dirt.
So once you've placed all your drafted tiles into your landscape, you can choose to reserve an animal card from one of 5 in a display. Animal cards contain patterns where the animal has a certain ecosystem they want to live in. For example, this raccoon wants to be a plains surrounded by 3 waters. If we look at our board, we have that occurrence right here. So once we get this card, we would take 2 orange cubes and place them on the card, and then take one of the orange cubes and place them on our plains. Guess what? The raccoons live in there now. So, what makes Harmonies so special? I think it's the fact that it's so easy to teach to someone. You're just drafting tiles and putting them on your board. But after the first time someone plays it, they just know they're going to do better next time, and then do better next time, and then do better next time. And that's what makes it a great gateway game.
Harmonies is a magical experience. Every time you play, it's going to be completely different. You're going to get different animals that you're drafting. You're going to get different sets of tiles that you're going to have to place on the board as you get them, which is going to create a different landscape every single time. You're going to be wanting to create places for those animals to live. You're going to be wanting to try and score the most points and beat your friend. But it's just such a simple, enjoyable experience. All you're doing is choosing a set of tiles, choosing a couple animals, and then trying to make the best ecosystem and landscape for those animals to live in. It's just wonderful and it looks amazing. The next and arguably cutest game on our list is Dog Park. In Dog Park, you are playing as a dog walker. You are trying to fill your kennel with as many dogs as you can and take as many of those dogs on walks to score you points, gaining resources along the way. This game, it looks absolutely stunning. The artwork is amazing, and you have a massive stack of all kinds of different breeds of dogs that all look absolutely stunning. The game's production is amazing, and it's so inviting for new players, and it's not intimidating at all. It's easy to teach and very easy to learn.
So, Dog Park is played over 4 rounds, each round consisting of 3 phases. The first phase is recruitment, where you'll be bidding actual victory points or reputation to gain various dogs that are available in an open market. Once you gain those dogs, they get added to your kennel, and you can choose to spend resources on those dogs to add a leash to those dogs and walk them during the walk phase. So, we've recruited our dogs, we've selected our dogs. Now we're walking our dogs. As we walk through the various park locations, we have to constantly move to the right. Once you get all the way to the right, the walk is done, and anywhere you stop along the way is resources for you for the next round. So, how do you win the game and score the most points, getting the most reputation? Well, firstly, you score points and gain rep based on the dogs you walk. This dog says during final scoring, you gain 2 points for every collar that's on it, meaning each time you walk it, you'll get 2 points. There's also a set collection aspect to this game where, based on a randomly shuffled and set up set of cards, you'll want to get the majority of that type of dog walked by the end of the game to score the most points. Additionally, you're going to have private objectives, both basic and experienced, to fulfill. And once all those things are added up, the game winner is decided, and that's the end of the game. The great thing about this game is not that much information is front loaded, which makes it a great candidate for a gateway game. Basically, the first time you play through this, you can just take whatever dogs you want on walks, score whatever points you get, pick the cutest animals, and have a great time playing it and want to come back again. But the third or fourth time you play this, you start trying to optimize which dogs you took, collect the right sets to score breed expert points. You start paying attention to the round by round bonuses, which are exposed as of round one, so you can plan ahead for round three to make the most of that bonus. That's just such a great system that I can't speak highly enough of. Aside from the outstanding production with the various pieces, this game also has something super unique, which is you won't really outgrow it. It is a gateway game, but it's something you'll continue to play because it has that depth and complexity, and it's not on the rules side, it's on the execution side. So this will stay in your collection no matter how experienced you get as a board gamer, whereas other games might leave your collection once you've played them a bunch, figured them out, etc. Our next beautiful game sees you as travelers planning a trip through Tokyo and Kyoto, and that game is Let's Go to Japan.
Okay, so we have a two-player game set up here, and in Let's Go to Japan, you and your friend are going to be drafting different cards from both Tokyo and from Kyoto that have different events on the back. And you're going to be trying to plan your trip the most optimally to have the most fun. So, as you're drafting your cards, you're going to try and keep and play the events that make the most sense for your trip. So, for example, you might want to go to Tofukuji Temple in Kyoto. Or in Tokyo, you might want to grab some street food.
So mechanically, the game takes place over many rounds. For the first few rounds, you're going to be playing a card and passing a card based on the cards that you drafted. In this case, I might want to visit department stores in Ginza, so I'll play that event on Tuesday and then pass the Kyoto event to my opponent. When selecting your cards, there's two things you'll really want to consider. First off, we've randomly set out a number of preferred activities to happen on certain days. For example, Thursday is the day we want to eat more food. Wednesday, we want to visit ritual sites or spiritual sites. Tuesday, we want to go shopping. So, for example, I could visit department stores in Ginza. This is a shopping event, so I'll want to play this into Tuesday to make the most of that sweet, sweet day completion bonus once I've placed 3 cards there, matching the preferred icon. Let's also not forget that this is a drafting game, meaning the cards that you don't use will end up getting passed to your opponent, and your opponents will be passing you cards that they didn't want. So in a turn will eventually come where you have to draw your entire discard pile and make the most out of the cards you were given. So we mentioned optimization, and in planning that is so important because every time you go between Tokyo and Kyoto, you have to take a train, and a train is negative points. Avoiding negative points while taking as many positive points as possible, while progressing the activities you did and the interest in those activities beyond certain thresholds, while keeping morale high is ultimately how you win in Let's Go to Japan.
Our next modern gateway game sees you and your friends being summoned by the steward of the royal house to Her Majesty the Queen's royal banquet in Courtesans. Courtesans is an amazing gateway game. It's just one of those quick and snappy card games that hits the table over and over and over again, and you just want to play continually. All you're going to be doing on your turn is drawing 3 cards. You're going to be playing one of those cards to your domain. You're going to be playing one of those cards to your opponent's domain, and one of those cards to the queen's table to influence her favor.
So the way you win a game of Courtesans is by having the most points at the end of the game. In this game, points are very hard to come by, and a really high score could only be 4 or 5. The way you earn a point is by having a card that matches a suit that is in favor with the queen. You lose points by having cards that match suits that are out of favor with the queen. In this very specific situation, I'm doing horribly because red is out of favor by 2, and I have 4 red cards. Now, something you haven't noticed is these cards have special modifiers, so this red card actually counts as 2 cards. So for me right now, red is -5, and that's really bad. So winning Courtesans is a combination of backstabbing your friends, motivating the queen in whichever direction you want it to go, and playing the right cards in front of you. You get 1 point for every card in front of you that matches a suit that is in favor with the queen at the end of the game, but you lose a point for every card in front of you that matches a suit that is out of favor at the end of the game. Now, to add some more twist to the game, other than just the basic color cards, there are also assassins, nobles, spies, and guards. Assassins will kill something in whichever court they're played into as they're played. Nobles are worth 2 cards for every card you have. Guards can't be killed no matter what. And spies are placed face down, so nobody knows what they are until the game ends.
So, other than the normal scoring of having cards that are in favor with the queen, you also get dealt two secret objectives at the beginning of the game. So, in this game, I have you must own less butterflies than your neighbor, and hares must be fallen from grace. And in the current situation, I'm scoring an extra 6 victory points, and that's huge in this game. Like I was saying before, Courtesans is such a great addition to this list because it's easy to teach, it's easy to table. You can play it over and over and over again. It plays in about 20 minutes. Plays to 2 to 5 players. It's a great game to play on a game night. It's a great game to play over coffee. And the best thing about it is it's only like $30.
Our final beautiful modern gateway game on this list is published by Roxley, who's known for making gorgeous games. It's an abstract strategy bidding game that plays 2 to 4 players, and that game is Skyrise. In Skyrise, each player is playing as an architect or developer of the future, trying to get their buildings built in this new city, Skyrise. Each turn, a player will be deciding whether to continue the bid by playing a higher bid or pass, allowing the bid to get constructed. Let me show you what I mean. The start player in this case will have to start a bid from the center of the board because there's no other buildings present. They've bid 23. The next player can decide to bid more, 31, but you're not bidding on the same spot. You're bidding for somewhere adjacent. Once that's placed, this bidder might decide, I don't want to pay more than 31 for anywhere next to that. No problem. That building gets built. That player gets the token present on that location, and the other player gets their bid back. So what are you ultimately trying to do in Skyrise? You're trying to collect tokens that are of certain colors that match the colors you've placed buildings on. So the first building we placed was that yellow building right there. That red player now wants to collect yellow tokens. If they do, they raise the value of yellow buildings at the end of the game. And that is the core of how you score points. In addition to constructed buildings, in both phases of the game, there's a central scoring with global objectives. In our game, as set up, we have a global objective for having buildings on either side of a bridge, a global objective for having buildings in chains of 3 or more, and a global objective for having 3 buildings touching blimps that are scattered throughout the board, these little purple blimps here. On top of that, you'll also have private objectives that are dealt to each player. For example, my private objective is I want buildings on brown spaces, and a wonder you can build in the second phase of the game by choosing one of these 3 cards that'll give you a bunch of extra points when it's built.
The play of Skyrise is very quick and snappy. You're just going back and forth trying to outbid your opponent. But the cool thing about the bidding in this game is you're not bidding on the same location. So you might have an idea that, okay, the bidding is starting over here, but really I want this location. So you're going to try and get the bid to keep going along until you can capitalize on that location that's going to score you a lot of points. While you're going through the bidding in Skyrise, you want to capitalize on different locations that give you unique opportunities. In this example, the red player built a building here, and since they won the last bid, they get to place first. But because this location this building is next to has no adjacent spaces available, they can just win the bid outright, playing really, really low, but capitalizing on that location. Skyrise is a great combination of being very easy to teach, but the decision making feels very, very tactical. And the variable setup means that every game is going to feel very different. A game like this is a great addition to any collection, and it looks absolutely stunning.
And that concludes our top 5 modern gateway games. If there's any game we didn't mention here that you're enjoying a lot, comment down below, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.